Hey guys, it's Al and welcome back to the channel. I actually was going to bring you something direct from the Divine that came channeled to me, and it has to do with the incoming era of Karmic Geddon, as I affectionately like to call it. And part of the task that I have sometimes is to bring forth messages that I get, like others that are out there who are doing similar work, where they are somehow tapped into a divine essence and the spirit that is above us all. And so with this message, I'm going to be kind of a little bit less, I'm going to be more formal than informal, and so a little bit less jokey and a little bit more direct, because what I've basically been informed is that timelines have been switched a little bit and something has been moved forward as opposed to delayed. And so because of that, there's going to be a kind of a moment here where the collective might get a little bit of a jolt. And so when things like that happen, I just wanted to tell everybody, you stand your ground, understand that we knew what we were going into when we started to realize that we were on an ascension path and we found our connection to a higher power. And now comes the part where the next, first of all, the purge is over, the first wave. And so as we know, there was a point where a lot of energies that were sort of redundant and people who were very toxic and people who were not willing to work on themselves and stuff like that kind of went through judgment and didn't kind of come all the way through. And it's a little bit of a very direct message, but at this point I'm just supposed to be very, very candid with everyone and to ensure that you all are strong enough within your own faith, in your own task, within the divine kingdom, whatever that might be, that you are big boys and big girls to hear it straight up. So with this particular thing, we knew that the Divine Feminines had gone through a process. I had made a video, I think it was yesterday, where I spoke specifically to the fact that Divine Feminines went through a process where they detoxified not only the feminine energy, but the masculine energy within them, and are now standing in their power and full, what we call, well, I don't call it this, but the kids call it glow up, right? And so now it's time for the men to knuckle up, essentially, which is my favorite phrase, knuckle up. And so they're going to be going through it. And so one of the things to remember as a collective unit is that whether or not someone is a divine energy is not as important as the fact that the masculine energies as a whole are going to have to be detoxified and go through their own process in order to find their own path through what comes next, right? And so with that, understand that, not to throw stones or anything, but a lot of gentlemen who are not of divine light tend to throw temper tantrums, and so there might be a large amount of display of power grabs that we kind of was alluded to originally, but that hasn't been acted out yet. And so we're going to see like structures that we know are going to come down that are actually going to start falling down, and they're going to do it at their own hands. And it's kind of one of those things that I just want to warn everybody, not warn, but advise everybody to steer clear of it. It's karmic getting for a reason, so make sure that your karma, your dharma, and everything is like at least 10 feet away from anybody else right now, because those of you who are in divine light are being asked and tasked specifically, especially those of you who already have your crowns, so to speak, those who already passed through the initiations and are now standing in a leadership role in this unfolding era of change, that you must understand that there is going to be people in your life that are going to do everything they can to conform you or to change you or to make all of that stuff like save you, and that is super toxic for you. Just warning you right now. I mean, you have free will. You always have free will. But remember, the houses that are corrupt and the people who have corrupted the word of the divine, of God, of Allah, and whatnot, are going to go with it. And so understand that though they mean well, and that we always meant well, we're big boys and big girls. We know that you can't save someone else. Everyone must stand at the pearly gates on their own accord. And now they're what they call the purge, which I thought was just a movie, but apparently that was like a prelude, where Gaia kind of removed the redundancy, and so there's like a lot of toxicity that's been kind of expunged out of the collective. And so just be advised that people that you would never expect to turn on you are about to turn on you, and it's part of their, remember I had mentioned in one of the previous videos that some people don't understand that you're the test, and so they're going to do everything they can to kind of change you or convert you and all that stuff. And just remember that there's no power to that unless you give it to them. So just be advised that we're at that phase. So those of you who are in that leadership will understand that the way it was phrased to me is brace for impact. And so I was just like, okay. But for those of you who actually got removed from the board, who did the work and have risen above the chaos and above the my word is better than your word, and your house isn't as good as my house, and I'm gonna worry about what you're doing. If you've done all your work and you're above that, now you're off the board. And so you're about to get a good karma getting. You're about to get karma like explosion. And so a lot of people are going to see you blow up and blossom in a way that they can't hide from. And so in that moment, understand that all of their fears are going to come to their reality, into their heads, and they're going to realize, oh shit, they were right. And so understand that you may become a target in that arena. Stand in your own power. Just look at them stoically. Don't judge them. Remember that that's a way to get more karma. And just stand clear of them. Let them go down whatever path they're going to go down. It could be your brother, your sister, your mother, your grandmother, whatever it is. Just stick to the people that are listening to your voice, and understand that those are the people that you are supposed to help. So just because, like, let's say that you have like 12 followers. Those 12 followers are important people. Don't ever underestimate your own voice, and don't ever underestimate your power because of numbers. Because remember, those are inflated. Sometimes they can be big, sometimes they can be small. But the thing is, are you doing quality work? It's quality over quantity. And so ensure that you're reaching the right people, not turning them away from other places. Because we've watched this happen with religion, organized at least, where they've turned more people away now than they are actually bringing into their faith. And it's not like I'm not casting stones, it's just something to be aware of, because you're now in a position where you're part of the reformation. And if you fought for this, because many of you have been really doing a lot of work and working on yourself and really facing it, and so don't throw it away now by trying to lower your expectations or lower your standards and allow these people back into your life. Once your gut says no, it is a flat no. Let them go. It doesn't matter who it is. And just understand that that is part of this. You understood, those of you on this frequency understood that this was going to be trials. This is going to be trying. And for those of you who've gotten your crowns, that means that now you have to do the application part. Meanwhile, the next wave is going to be in their testing phase and go through their finals. And so it's an ongoing schooling system. So those of you who want to be a leader, if you're not comfortable now and you start to freak out, then just step aside. Someone is waiting behind you to go. Just be aware that, and it's not a diss, it's to reinforce your belief in yourself, to understand that you don't have to do anything that you're not comfortable with. You can always step to the side for now and let someone else who is in the position to do that step forward. It's not like you shouldn't be egoish and you shouldn't be worried about title or anything like that, because it's not yours to hold. It's something being bestowed to you by the divine. So if it's yours, it's yours. Nobody can take it. But if you're not ready, then you can't hold up the plan. The plan is already in go. And so, I mean, what was it? Not to freak everybody out, but instead of locusts, now we have like killer wasps. Okay, well, not that big of a surprise to me. Was it really that surprising to you all? Remember, it's a 2.0. The masters and elders are returning to tie up loose ends and to bring a new heaven and a new earth into alignment. And so understand that what we originally went through may not be the exact same thing that's going to happen this time, but it's going to be just scripture. So it's going to be like, you're going to be able to go, oh, that's what they meant. Okay, well, it's happening. But for those at this frequency, just understand, it shouldn't worry you. This should not bother you. Your house should be tight. Your boat should not be sinking. You should be able to stand and know that, anything that they throw at you, just cut them out. You do not have to put up with other people's drama. No one has that power but you to empower them to do that. So just understand that and stand in your strength and know that your only task is to listen to that inner intuition and talk to the divine. Those are the only energies that you need to be focused on at this frequency. Now, if you have followers that are listening to your lead, then you have extra responsibility. So ask questions. Make sure that you talk to the divine about what does that mean with karma. Because I know from my past lives, anytime that I've led people, I acquire their karma. So if you're not ready for that, and if you're not ready for the responsibility of what comes next and all that stuff, then just step to the side and give yourself enough time to ask questions. Stand in your power and then be ready to go. Because you don't want to lead people the wrong place because you are in an ego stance. That's why the divine men are going through, divine masculine, are going through this detoxification. Is because where we are is a lot of us, especially divine feminine energy, has a lot more power right now. They don't know it though, because it's a more spiritual level power. But at the end of the day, you have the divine's ear. So be cautious of anything that's like catty, anything that is judgy, anything that will get you removed from where you're at, and put in the back burner for a minute until you can get it together, and then step forward and lead. Because leadership isn't about mine is bigger than yours. That hasn't worked. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in a situation. This is for leaders who are willing to step up, call their own shit first, then look outwardly and say, okay, I have a question about this, but always in a questionable way, never in a judgment way. I keep pointing. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to take the opportunity then, because it is a little bit more direct, to understand that I had written an article back, I think it was in either October or November of 2020, and it's called Karmic Leadership, and it was a prelude to this, because we all knew that it was coming, but I wrote an article and I wanted to kind of go over it and kind of share with you guys what is at hand now for the collective, because those of you who are off the board are now leading this, and so you understand we were lucky. Like, just be grateful in the moment, say thank you God, or thank you Allah, or thank you whoever for giving me the opportunity to step up to the plate, and I'm glad I listened to you, blah 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 blah. I'm grateful because you don't have to go through the crash course that the rest of them are about to go through, and a lot of them are going to have their faith completely shattered. A lot of them are going to have a lot of things that are going to be revealed that they weren't expecting. There's a big surprise. There's an event coming that's going to shock the hell out of, I think, about 98% of the population, and it is what it's meant to do, and it's there for a reason. But you should already be in a place of power and understanding to know that it was coming. You know what I mean? Not everybody gets to go. Not everybody gets to go, and they have to do the, And some of you had the thing where I'm only going to caution. Just because you're leading, you're not supposed to be telling them every detail of how to do their work. You can point out as big brother, big sister, how to guide them and how to be like, well, here's my advice, here's what I would do, but they have to ask you the questions, because otherwise you are literally acquiring all of their karma. So present information in a very, very factual, well, in the best that you can, in divine light. Be a light beacon, but help them understand that at the end of the day, all you can do is give them suggestions and guide them. Here's what I would do. Here's what the blah. But watch your wording, because the moment you take ownership, you grab their karma, and then you are going to have that issue. Because remember, those of you who are leaders, should be free of karma right now. You are getting a karmic reset. At least I am. And so that took a lot of work. So don't sacrifice that because you need to have your ego confirmed or stroked. Let it go. Let it go. That's what the divine told me to tell you guys. Let it go. The only thing you can do is say, here's the message I received. Here's how I'm going to convey it to you. And, if you have questions, seek it out for me. And then tell them. But if you take on the persona of the collective, then what happens to the collective is part of your karma. Just be advised. I'm just telling you. I'm not going to tell you what to do. Because people are all up right now saying things like, well, if they don't tell you exactly what to do here on that, then they're not doing the work. You're not being a leader. You're being a dictator. They must do the work themselves. But what you can do is guide them. A leader doesn't tell people every moment of what they need to do. You tell them what the information is, where you found the information, and then have them look it up themselves. That way you keep your leadership title, your role. Because otherwise it's going to be taken and put to somebody who can handle the pressure. I'm just telling you right now. So with Karmic and the article that I wrote back in, I think it was October or November of last year, I'm just going to read it to you and then do like quick Q&A with it, so that we have a better understanding of what I was seeing, and so you have a better understanding of what's to come. Now understand that because of the switch, there's some things that have been changed, so it might be more severe in people around you than what we originally understood. So just hold your own. Don't retaliate. Don't respond. Don't answer to them. If they just blocked. No one can save another human being. Only that human being can save themselves, and we know that. It is just something that every soul has to encounter. So don't get your hand and stuff caught in people that aren't ready to be heard, to listen to you. Don't waste your breath. You're going to need your own energy. I guarantee it. You're going to need your own energy to just stay present and be available to help people who want the help. Just know that. Remember, it's karmic getting, so it's about karma. We're heading to a karmic phase in life. Okay, so here's whatever. Sometimes finding a way to strike a collective balance to a world that appears built off kilter can prove a bit complicated as one tries to walk that fine line between staying grounded and being hopeful. So to that end, let this piece serve as a moment where I share what I've seen to come for the collective, collide with other options that we may not have seen available to us otherwise. Within this delicate dance at rebalancing our collective consciousness, I discovered something that I think will serve our species in a way that is truly worth our exploration in facing this era head on. In the end, I discovered a portal of sorts that once and for all can allow our race to break free of the chains that keep us anchored to a karmic cycle of biblical proportions, and is why I've come to call this phase of human evolution Karmic Gettin'. With the release of the you-know-what onto our world, we would appear to have gotten our hands caught in the cosmic cookie jar. Warned since time immemorial to stand clear of a belief system by which we praise a false god, or those that act as though they are one, we have chosen our destination now unfolded. Though we may not have seen it as that at first, because of what our intentions were in its misguided efforts. You know what is we were censored, remember. You know what is a man-made virus built out of a fear that other nations or other world powers would someday come to use forms of bioterrorism or biological warfare into its enemies. As a result, so as to gain an equal footing or to level out the playing field, our irrational sense of fear decided that our best solution would be to fight fire with fire. So like a form of deranged alchemy, we decided to create our own thing and diseases, as if forgotten the stark warnings of our past that echoed the sentiment that it was not nice to fool Mother Nature. And lo and behold, it unsurprisingly backfired on us all when it was released not just onto our enemies, but onto the species as a whole. Something that brought our world to a stop and onto its knees yet again. Yet again, because this all happened before, but I digress for the moment. The point is that to an outsider looking in, we as a species cannot claim to not have known what they were all up to. In fact, we were all quite clear on what they were doing, what was at stake, and that we were all ultimately playing with something that would one day cost us greatly, and so it has. You see, we must all now face the collective music as one species, one choice, and one outcome. By remaining silent and allowing the need to dominate over our neighbors prevail over our sense of right and wrong, we allowed what our elders would deem as pride out of ego to steer our herd into a cosmic ditch by which this time no one, or nothing, is set to step in and get us out of it. In choosing this path before us, we stepped over God and the infinite universe, and in doing so blocked them out of a place where they could even step in if they wanted to. We chose the dark arts of a form of alchemy, which ultimately defied our karmic balances, something that violates our communion with the higher realms, and that has cost our cultures their lives with extinction-level events in the past. Case in point would be what we know of the Atlanteans, who are said to have begun favoring the darker sides of their nature when alchemizing their reality to which judgment was passed with an extinction-level event that saw them pay with their lives. Rumor has it that those souls have reincarnated in the Americas and should be something we factor in as we choose to move forward. One could thereby see the parallels to what is now playing out on us in a collective total sum of humanity. Our choices made from here on out will thereby either condemn our race to face judgment once and for all, or we will as a species choose to redeem ourselves instead, most epically. Two very different directions for which the collective karmic wheel can turn. So let what I share with you all now not fall on deaf ears. Our current trajectory speaks to a mad scramble by which we collectively are choosing to double down on the use of this dark arts alchemy, which created this most horrific problem to begin with, so as to now trust it to police itself and to remedy its own outcome under the same principles and fear-based mindsets that derailed our race in the first place. Acting as though still unaware of the truth behind why we're experiencing this era of realignment, we are choosing to disregard the obvious calling card of a bad outcome to come and instead hurry the process itself, showing an epic level of short-sighted behavior on our parts that one might see by a new species that's brand spanking new to the physical worlds, something that we most definitely are not. By adding this unprecedented level of stress onto a group still grappling with their own responsibility over having led us to the disastrous fork in the road, we are causing them to take more shortcuts and not practice their due diligence in developing something that we will all then administer into our collective human bodies. Is there anyone out there who does not understand where this will lead our race? Is there anyone out there whose intuition is not now screaming at them that this is most definitely the wrong remedy to the problem? If we collectively allow this to play out as it currently stands, rushed in under immense amounts of pressure to magically fix a problem that is not ours to fix, our race will have chosen the wrong course of action. How do I know? Because I've seen what happens. I'm going to stop there. So, remember, I wrote this almost in November, so several months ago, and I knew exactly what was to come. The thing with this is that I know that everyone has to choose what's right for their own body, and I'm all about freedom of choice. But at the end of the day, when you start to remove other people's rights to say no to that, then you are not yourself in alignment with something higher than yourself. You are literally making someone into a slave in order to make you feel better about yourself. Things are going to mutate. And so that's the issue that we're having here, is we got a pass after judgment after 2019 when it reset to 2020, the year of reflection, when we were able to let go of the past. 2021 is a whole new cycle. So everything that we're now handing away in our rights and everything that we're trying to take from other people is now putting us back into enslavement, because our karma goes right back in effect. So all the karma that we purged in that original 2020 reflection year, 2020 is hindsight, duh. We knew that it would be, and the three wise men met in the sky and all of that stuff, and so we knew that it was going to be a rebirth. But what we didn't count on is the fact that they are not going to go without a fight. And so the more that we let go of our rights and our mutual admiration for each other and the brotherhood and sisterhood that we used to have as a race, the more that we give that away, the more that all of the karma returns and everyone gets stuck in the old cycle. Now that works for the corruptive system because they can't do anything to you right now. They can't touch you right now. They can't make you do anything. You all are the ones that are going to implode on each other, and that's the way that they're trying to get it to work. So the more that you fight women, like women who fight women over the right to choose, it's not about the right to choose, it's about the right to think about it. And so if you can't even agree to that, then you're already helping them enslave you, right? Because you're not even meeting each other at eye level. And so those of you who are pro this and pro that with this whole thing going on with the injections and stuff, you have to understand that if you remove the rights of someone else, then you have enslaved them to your will, making yourself more important than them. You already know that that's the wrong answer to that. And so that's what I mean by karmic getting. Like this is like where it gets really heavy really fast. And I had warned in that, I think I actually warned in, I think it was July of last year, in another article, again on LinkedIn. You can find all my work for the past year and a half and the 3 books all on Amazon. You can find my work all over the world. But my point is this: as we go into this next phase that we're stepping in right this second, this whatever they move forward, understand that everything that you make predominantly about you over someone else's rights, you are going to have to, it's going to be part of your karmic getting. And it's going to be pretty rough. I'm just going to tell you right now. And people are always like, don't scare people. I'm like, well, if you don't know that you are in a situation where this is it, then you're not paying attention to the world. You're in denial. Everything that's going on has been prophesized. Everything that's about to happen is already known. You cannot be surprised at this point. And especially at this frequency, we have to find ways in order to address it to the collective in a way that isn't... Like, I have an easier task. As a messenger, I don't have to make everything sugarcoat, because you guys should be the ones that are able to handle it. You're supposed to absorb it. I can. And I'm not having any reactions to it. But that doesn't mean that I don't feel it. It just means that that's not part of what we're here to do. You asked to be a leader, so lead. You need to be able to stand in your power and say, okay, I hear what he's saying. I don't like this, I don't like that, but I did want to be part of this. I do want to give the collective an opportunity to step up and get out of this with their head held high. Because there's a lot that you may not be aware yet, that very few of us actually know what's to come. And so, the interesting part is I have ability to ask, and I'd rather not know some things. I've been working for the divine for a minute. I sometimes by not knowing something, but not willful, like if it's something that needs to be known in order to address something, then it's fine. Like I don't take it the wrong way. But there's certain things that the divine doesn't tell us because they don't want anybody trying to get any information, because it can change on a dime. It is prophesized that only the divine knows how this is all going to play out. Right? So everybody gets their pieces, then how they fit into the puzzle, and they're all supposed to run with it. But if you're having struggle, if you're mad at the way I deliver something, or you're mad about the fact that another house is present at your level, then you're not going to stay in that level. You're not going to be a leader. You have to help unite the people. If you can't do it, then don't be upset if you're not at the same frequency and others excel above you. You see what I'm saying? And so don't shoot your own, whatever the expression is, just don't make sure that you're not making things worse for yourself, because it's not our power to have. That's the one thing I never understood about people who are power hungry. It's not yours to hold. It's an illusion. And the longer that you hold on to that illusion, if you're very money centric, then when it crashes, your soul dies with it. And that's not part of the academy. And so just understand that you're tying yourself to things that you cannot fix. You cannot, just because I love someone and I want them to do really well, it would be a betrayal to myself, to my higher self, and to God if I sat there and tried to intervene on something that's between the divine and that person. That would be so unfair. I would be karmically indebted to both. Well, I would suffer ramifications for the divine, but I would be karmically indebted to the other soul for stopping it from its growth. You cannot block someone from making a mistake. If they want to eat cake, let them eat the cake. It could be poisonous, it could be whatever it is, but you cannot stop someone from free will. And that's one of the hardest lessons. But at this frequency, guys, you know I'm right. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it, and I'm not going to sit here and worry about it. If you take things offensively, like, those days are gone. It's go now. It's go time. We're in the next phase. And before the chariot arrives, everyone on this frequency needs to have their shit together. There's no other way to say it. I'm not worried about it if you take it the wrong way. The way that I was given the information is very direct, and I'm supposed to just hand it to you equally as direct. That's what messengers do. If you don't like the way that things are coming out and things are being said to you by the divine or your archangels or whoever you believe in or spirit or whatnot, then step aside. Because right now what we need is the warriors and leaders that are going to be able to help the collective get up and out of this. Because it's only going to get more complicated from here on out for a minute. The only way for us to do anything is if all of us show up on post without being judgy, without being egoish, and start working together. And until that happens, I'm not seeing that yet myself. So I don't know what the divine is seeing, but I don't see that at all. I see like maybe 2 people working, well, 3 people in total working together. But there's ego. And so when you don't have a unit that works cohesively, then the unit's not working. And I personally, as a human being, I don't have time for that anymore. Like, my deal with the divine is personal, but I will say that I was about making sure that we don't waste time and tell the collective what's at hand so that they can choose to ignore me or to ignore you or to ignore whatever it is, but it's in their responsibility. But if they don't know it, if they're still asleep and they don't see that this is coming and then they're surprised, then I have a problem with that. Anybody who's blocking that, I have an issue with going forward, like from this moment on. Anybody who can't get their shit together, then they need to go out of this frequency. And it's not something that I'm going to even need to do. I'm just addressing it now so that if you suddenly are not part of the frequency, then you'll understand why. Because I'm not engaging this anymore. You're not. No one here is given anything for free. You must work for it. This is a school. This is an academy. This is a college program for souls. If you can't handle the heat, then that's you. But don't get mad at other people who are doing the work. Stand in your own power. Be grateful for the fact that you're even part of this, and understand that you are a divine being. There's nothing here that you can't accomplish. If someone goes ahead of you, people have gone ahead of me thousands of times. There's no ego. And guys, this is Karmageddon. This is like a big deal. Like, this is where a lot of the collective are going to face their demons. We were lucky in a way. We were able to face our demons together, and that we did it out of our own free will. They're not going to have that. It's going to be literally a crash and burn situation where all of their fears come to light, because they're going to find out who betrayed them. They're going to find out which organizations are lying, and all of that stuff is really big. We've had 3 years to get used to it. They're going to have, it's going to go in order. So when I say things very directly, just understand it's not coming from a place of being judgy or casting stones. It's from a place that we are out of time. Time is an illusion, but for the momentum of what's building around us, it's time. They're moving forward. So this is the time when you take a moment, you be honest with yourself and say, hey, am I ready for this? Because this me worrying about other people thing, that's just going to get me thrown out. So all my work is about to go down the drain, or am I going to step up and be a leader? Am I going to lead this or not? I have the keys to Dad's car. Let's roll. Let's ride. Let's go. That's the best way to look at it. So just understand that nobody's out to get you, nothing, and this whole thing with spiritual warfare. Here's the thing. If you're concerned about it, then you're afraid of it. And then if you're afraid of it, then you're no good right now. Because you need to be unafraid of it, and you need to be off the board. That's who I'm trying to speak to right now. It's those of you who stand in your own power and go, okay, I get what he's saying. I don't have to agree with everything that he says, but I understand that is true. Like, it's go time. And so either we're going to get this together, or we need to move aside and let the team come together. Because at this point, your ego should not be blocking the collective. Be flat out honest. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm drawing the line. If we're not moving because one of us can't handle it, then move that person aside and let the next person stand up. It's about making sure as many people within the collective have the opportunity to decide what they need to do for themselves, align with their own faith, or whatever they want to do. But if we can't even get the leadership together, I have no patience for it. And if I'm speaking for the divine, I know the divine doesn't have a lot of space. The divine's more patient about it than I am. But I'm the one that has to stand here and say to you guys, okay, this is what we need to do, And if you're sitting there worried about the fact that you don't like me or that you don't like this person, then you're just a detriment. You're not a leader, you're a follower. So I'm sorry to be so candid, but it's go time. Like, you know that they are at a point where they're about to face their karma. Put yourself aside and stand up and be a man or be a woman, or get out of the way. Sorry to be so blunt, but that's what a messenger does. The messenger conveys the messages as candidly as they can. That's how they say. That's why they're the messengers. But understand that you are divine beings. Everyone that I'm speaking to, I should be speaking to at an eye level. There shouldn't be any, but there's still this catty, why is this person getting this? You're not a child anymore, and you're trying to save families, and you're trying to do things that will, you're not trying to save them, but you're trying to guide them to find their own truth and their own power, so that when all of their structures fall around them, they're not caught in the balance. That's a bigger responsibility than whether or not your ego's hurt. That's it for me, guys. You guys have a great day. I'm going to leave it at that moment for now. I'll come back and talk about more about the spiritual warfare thing that's coming, because just people are getting lost in that. And if you're afraid, then you're attracting that. And that's all I'm going to say on it right now. But I love and light. I love everybody out there. I know I mean well when I say this stuff, but it's time. All right, bye.